Hello and welcome. I'm your host Elizibar, and this is Livewire number 8. And I complain a lot in comic books when it's like, "Hey, this book is going really slow. It's decompressed all get out." I say stuff like that. And sometimes a book just seems like it goes by way too fast. And this current arc in Livewire seems like it went by way too fast. Like there weren't details. When you read a comic book, you should kind of have an idea of what's going on, right? And it's not really clear 100% what's going on sometimes in this book. I'll show you what I mean. So we start off here. She's gotten Livewire into a room, and she's like, "Yo, let's talk." That's all paralleled with this stuff with the kids outside. So the older kids that are like the soldiers are rounding up the younger kids and shipping them off somewhere. But this conversation gets interrupted. Like, we don't get a conversation. As soon as we start getting an explanation from her about what's going on, Livewire's already breaking out of where she's imprisoned. How does she do it? Huh. That's it's actually a great touch. You might remember back in issue 1 or 2, she was captured in 1. I think the surgery might have been in 2. But way back when this started, yeah, I think it was issue 2. The government put a chip in her head to suppress her powers. You remember that, right? You remember that, right? Oh, I'm gonna look at my Coffin Comics pin, and I'm gonna point with that and kind of rep comic book cred with my pointer. Look at that, boom. So they got a chip in her head, and then in issue 3 or 4, when she was fighting that one dude, and she died briefly, that chip went beep and ran out of power. That moment, it was no longer suppressing her powers, and she was able to draw power back into herself, and she came back up and saw and stuff. And at the time, it's just kind of assumed that hey, the chip is dead, right? Because it was supposed to be powered from her brain. What she did is, I guess the chip turned off, but could still be reactivated as she took control of the chip. Now, nowhere was it explained before this happens that she did that. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. It's logical and makes sense, but it's a little bit of a what? What happened? How? Then you're like, oh, you could have foreshadowed that. She could have had a panel or a page somewhere, like where she's exploring her own insides with her powers, because she's Livewire and that's what she does. So there's this really satisfying sequence here on the top, and there's a almost as satisfying sequence down here of the younger kid whose name I have already forgotten because she is literally that uncareable. Like, I don't care. I don't care to know anything about this kid. She's just a generic, soulful, teenage punk. Like, that sounds like a contradictory set of words, soulful punk, but that's what she is. She's like, so thoughtful, so conflicted. Oh my gosh. And it just doesn't matter. Because at the end of the story, this kid's still living out on the streets with only Livewire's like interference helping her survive. It's completely meaningless. She fights the power. While she's fighting the power and running away, Livewire is fighting the power. What's that? What's this? What's her name? Jada, something like that. They have a pretty good fight sequence, and these pages I just flipped through them so fast. I was just devouring them all. This is kind of I hate these layouts, by the way. Look at this. This is not effective. You know what would have been more effective? If you had just did a page of them fighting and a page of her running away instead of doing it like this, because now I have this really awkward split panel where the art, no matter how good you do it, it still doesn't quite line up just right. And when this gets put into a trade, that's going to look really terrible because the crease, unless you want to break the spine of the trade, is going to look like that. And it's going to be like, oh yeah, well, actually, probably more like this. It's going to look like this. And it'll be like, oh yeah, there's something going on there. But what it is ain't exactly clear. I found this very satisfying as I was reading through it. Livewire spends a lot of time being introspective. Oh yeah, she, whatever. I spoiled it. Oh gosh, I'm spoiling everything. Here she is, being introspective, looking at what's typed on a typewriter. Do the right thing. Let us go, Serena. And this is harkening back to stuff like Omen and all that I'm not really super familiar with. And it would have been nice if, in issue 5, when this particular arc began, or at some other point, Livewire had went, oh yes, I remember that lady from Omen, or something, like, before just springing it on me. Because I didn't know. You have to remind readers. You have to explicitly tell readers what's going on. If you don't, your book goes by way too quick, and even if it's not decompressed, even if there's lots of stuff happening, it still feels decompressed because I don't know the context of everything. And I should know the context of stuff because I'm the dang reader and I want to know what's going on in the book I am reading. I'm just like hitting the. There. I got out of my system. So, having said all that, I had a great time reading this arc of Livewire. This is way better than the first arc, the first couple issues. This one was pretty interesting. It went by too fast, and I felt like not a lot happened. Like how many issues was like the Dark Phoenix saga? Like 4, right? And it changed everything in X-Men. Like it fundamentally just altered the whole landscape, and it left people with something super memorable. Anybody gonna remember this 2 weeks from now? Am I gonna remember this 2 weeks from now? Probably not. So I guess from that perspective, it seems like kind of a waste. It's not good enough to be memorable, and it's not cheap enough. Not at this price, $3.99. It's not cheap enough to be disposable. Weird place to be. Like these 4 issues seem like a single episode of a television show. Granted, it's like a 42-minute drama, like Agents of Shield. I think that's a 1-hour show, right? As opposed to like a 20-minute sitcom. But you understand what I mean. Like this is cheap and forgettable, even if it was enjoyable for one read. I doubt I'm ever going to revisit. One other thing I want to talk about. The coloring is super weird. I guess the fight's probably a good example. Like, I don't know what color the light is supposed to be. Because there's these weird purple tones that don't make one lick of sense. The background. Is it nighttime? Is it daytime? I don't know. Did somebody like string up like a purple light somewhere? Is it actually lit by a black light and we're sort of color reversing it? I don't have a clue what's up with the coloring. It's exotic and it's eye-catching, but I don't feel like it reflects reality. And I find that a little bit off-putting. Like, you could do crazy coloring just fine. If you've seen one of my reviews of, say, Coda, for example, is a great example. Absolutely insane coloring. The coloring means something there. You see my review of Rags, it's black and white except for colors that highlight things that matter. Here, I don't know what this coloring is supposed to tell me. It's not even consistent. Like, right here. Purple, green, orange, yellow, white. Now, back in the day when you were printing on newsprint, you had to do like crazy high contrast backgrounds just to make stuff come through on newsprint. That's how printing technology was back then. But we don't have that constraint anymore. Why isn't the coloring better? I don't know. So while I had a lot of fun with this, I feel like this issue was a bad way to end the story arc. It didn't have enough meat on its bones. It's just like some stuff happened, the end. Whereas the first couple issues of this arc were setting up interesting stuff. I thought this was going to go on for like a couple more issues where she would like stay there at that school for a while and do something there, as opposed to just immediately she tries to break a kid out and gets thrown into the Huskow and then breaks out and kills somebody and everybody runs away and there's a fight. And you know what I'm saying? I think you know what I'm saying. So I'm going to shut up now. Those are my thoughts on Livewire. Valiant kind of, for a little while, Livewire, Valiant was showing like better than mediocrity, and I think we've kind of fallen down from like being like solidly good to kind of like, yeah, we're here like just a notch above mediocre, which mediocrity is still better than a lot of comic books out there. So take that for what you will. Have a great day. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. I'll see you later. And there's probably some things to click up here and some stuff down there in the, comments, descriptions, stuff you should click on. I appreciate it. Every click, every little bit of support helps. I'll see you all next time. Let me know what you think. Bye-bye.